Today, we're diving into a pretty cool book by Aldridge called Why Parties. In this book, what Aldridge does, he breaks down how political parties work in the US and why they matter. He basically says that parties are tools used by political elites to get what they want, mainly winning elections by building alliances and also getting people on board with their own goals. What I find really interesting about Aldridge's thesis is that he sees political parties as always changing and evolving, not necessarily for the better, but certainly changing. They're constantly adapting to the needs and interests of politicians, and their main goal is to help those very same politicians win elections. Now, while parties might seem to us as entities that are all about the will of the voters, deep down, they're really all about winning elections for their nominees. And to that extent, any good intentions are really kind of secondary to that. Oldest utilitarian argument in the book, the end justifies the means, well, that's basically that. You probably notice that US elections are often very close. They're like 50-50 splits. Over the last 100 years, the average margin of victory for a presidential campaign has been usually around 8%. But more recently, that margin has really shrunk to only 2 to 4% just within the past 30 years as elections have become tighter and people have become more divided. So how does this happen? Is the country really split evenly down the middle between the Democrats and the Republicans? Or is it more about party strategists and pollsters figuring out what issues will give them that little bit of an edge for winning an election and then adopting it? Personally, I think it's the latter. This is where the idea of expanding the party tent comes in. Aldridge says that parties are always evolving, looking to bring in new issues and attract more voters. The goal is to get as many people as possible under a party's tent so that they can then win that majority of the votes when it comes to the national elections. When winning is the main focus, it's really no wonder that parties will really do whatever it takes, which is why partisan politics has really become the norm in today's politics. Now, let me give you another example. You've probably heard what gerrymandering is. It's a term that is really how parties manipulate district boundaries to favor themselves. Now, while this usually happens geographically at the state level in districts in an area of a state, a similar kind of gerrymandering happens ideologically at the national level. Party strategists pick and choose issues that will bring more voters into their camp, which often leads to divisions that get exploited to win more votes. As parties grow, they end up incorporating people with different or even conflicting views under the same tent, and that's just what happens when you build coalitions around single scattered issues rather than cohesive ideas that follow the same principled positions. This is also why this ideological division exists, not only between parties, but also within parties. So now that we've got a little bit of a basic understanding of what political parties are and how they work to win elections, in the next couple of videos, what I would like to do is let's break down what these two main political parties in the US actually stand for and what their party policies and party platform is all about, why they take these positions, and then where some of these internal contradictions and incongruences come from. As usual, if you've really got anything constructive to add to the conversation, or if you disagree with any of the points that I've made so far, make sure you comment below. I'd love to hear from you. This is a big topic, and I'm certainly always trying to learn and open to understanding new views. And while I've tried to capture a few of the main arguments and the points that Aldridge mentioned in his book, I've also tried to throw in some of my own observations along the way as well. By the way, I definitely recommend that you read this book, Why Parties. It's a really great treatise. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video. And until then, let's keep working together to save this country.